Welcome to Random but Memorable, a podcast from 1Password. I'm Anna, the producer behind the show.
I'm Sarah, one of the founders at 1Password.
I'm Rue, head of password manager development.
I'm Matt Davey, 1Password's chief experience officer.
And we're the hosts behind Random but Memorable. Together we offer up bi-weekly security advice, interview special guests from the cybersecurity community, and round up the latest security news in Watchtower Weekly. We may even play a silly game or two. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Well, I am looking forward to hitting Amsterdam at some point.
The thing that I loved about Amsterdam was they have cycle paths with cars in. So it's almost like the opposite from everywhere else in the world, where like they have roads and then they like try and wedge in these cycle paths. In Amsterdam, everything is like made around these huge cycle paths, and they've actually made these like single person cars that now go in the cycle lane. So in one of the tours that we went on, it was very much like, why are they here? And why are also the cycle paths red? And you could see just the tour guide's face light up. And he said, the cycle paths are red with the blood of tourists.
Been a while since I've been on the podcast. I feel a little rusty.
Oh.
See, I think that's the part that our listeners are going to miss out on, because we have had you. We have you occasionally bursting in to be like, stay on track, get back to it. No, it's over here. And so, you know, our listeners don't always get to hear from you. So it's nice that our listeners get to say hi and hear from you directly.
Yeah, but obviously Rue isn't with us today, but he will be making an appearance later in the show, as he had the chance to sit down with our guest this week, Tarah Wheeler. Tarah is the CEO of Red Queen Dynamics, which is a company streamlining cybersecurity and compliance for managed service providers. Tarah and Rue chat about why small businesses can be particularly vulnerable to breaches and ransomware, the common mistakes small businesses make when it comes to cybersecurity, and plenty of tips for how to protect what's important. So stick around for that, as Tarah offers up some really great advice in this interview, I think.
I don't know where Rue has gone, but he sends me pictures. I have received photos of a seaside-looking pier thing, and also some farming, and somewhere that he managed to get close enough to a fox to take like a really beautiful portrait of this fox. And I'm just like, where in the world combines those like three things? Like, where can you go that's very touristy, like a pier with lights and that, and then also farming with foxes? It was very weird.
I think he's just sending you stock images.
Maybe. You know what? I wouldn't put it past him. Like the pictures are incredible, so I'm hoping that they are.
This one came up in my memory feed from 3 years ago. I'll send it today.
He's really just on the couch eating potato chips.
Oh, that actually sounds like quite a good holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into Watchtower Weekly. This is the part of the show where we like to dissect some of the latest security news. So the first story we're going to talk today is from Wired, and it's SignalGate is driving the most US downloads of Signal ever. Do you both know what SignalGate was? It is the scandal that is surrounding the Trump administration of the Signal group chat that has led to a landmark week for the encrypted messaging app. Its adoption was the largest US growth moment by a massive margin, and since the news broke, the ensuing news circle and constant mentions of Signal have basically led to the encrypted messaging platform doubling its usual rate of downloads. Given that 2025 has already been a banner year for Signal's growth, according to the Signal's leadership, that makes this week the single biggest bump in the US adoption of the app in Signal's nearly 11 years of existence. This has since been known as SignalGate. Jun Harada, Signal's head of growth and partnerships, says it's mind-blowing, even on our side. He said that the week's rate of adoption has been twice that of a typical week for 2025, which in turn was twice that of a typical week in the same time last year. In Signal's history, the only comparable spike in adoption occurred when WhatsApp changed its privacy policy in 2021, leading to millions of users abandoning that communications app. But that incident mostly brought non-Americans to Signal, unlike the current US-focused SignalGate bump. So the incident has raised sometimes misguided questions too about whether Signal itself is to blame for the breach, from President Trump, who suggested in comments on Wednesday that Signal might be defective, despite many cybersecurity and encryption experts' recommendation of Signal as the best end-to-end encrypted messaging tool. You use Signal, we use Signal, everybody uses Signal, Trump told reporters. As always, he does in triplicate. But it could be a defective platform. Harada said that Signal was already seeing significant uptick in adoption in the first few months of 2025. He attributes that growth partly to increasing general interest in privacy among consumers, and partly due to the breach of 9 US telecoms by China's Salt Typhoon hacker group. I think that's in the top 10 of names for me.
It's a great name.
It's very good.
Wow, 10 out of 10 then.
Yes, but they also do terrible things. So there is that. So this led to the hackers group accessing some targets' real-time calls and texts. FBI and Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency responded to those breaches by publicly recommending that Americans use encrypted messaging and calling applications. As messy as SignalGate may be, Harada said, it has made Signal a household name like never before, and to have this kind of mainstream moment is massive. He says, I believe it's a sea change for private encrypted messaging for the US and the world. The fascinating thing for me here is that Trump openly said that it could be a defective platform. Obviously, I don't really think that is what led to some of the SignalGate. It's just literally the fact that people are repeating the name over and over again that is driving people to download it.
Name brand recognition, word of mouth, it's all the thing, right? Like, if you don't know what it is, then you don't know what it is, but then all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. There's the fun memes. I don't know if you saw, my favorite, I think, is the Star Wars, the Stormtroopers and Big Bird. You know, me in the group chat, like, oh, that is the best. Yeah, I think back to this with Instagram. So I don't remember, you could just add people to your Instagram group chats at some point randomly. My kids both have like group chats with friends from grade 8 where they started a group chat and like they invited The Rock and they're like, oh yeah, The Rock's in the group chat. I'm like, it can't really be The Rock, but you just add people to the group chats and it's like my email inbox. Like I have like, 16 Daves as contacts? I just got to make sure I'm sending it to the right one, you know, like, whoops.
Do you, I mean, this is a side note, but do you both get emails, so many emails, from people who want to be a guest on the podcast?
Yes.
Well, that is kind of my job, Matt, so yes.
But like...
I have a guest that I think would be wonderful on your show, and they're an upcoming leader, and they can talk about all of this random stuff. And I'm like, I talk about random stuff. Like, I don't need a guest to talk random. That's my job.
This is Greg, and he's the VP of something or other, and he wants to talk about pottery. Do you want him on your podcast? He's the leading person in... I'm like, what?
Pottery.
I mean, if you can find a link between pottery and cybersecurity, I'm all for it.
Don't say that. Everybody will email in from the pottery.
No,
yeah.
No. There's going to be like hidden links inside statues.
Honestly, though, I think I get 3 a day.
Oh, I don't get that
3
many.
people a day.
Well, you get more inquiries than me, Matt. Do you want to take over?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do they email me?
I don't know.
They just get archived. I'm sorry to anybody who emails me and who doesn't get a reply. I used to reply to all my emails, and then at some point I broke. All right, this next article, with QR code redemption set to surge to 5.3 billion in 2025, cybercriminals will increase their quishing attacks.
Oh, no.
Oh, I don't like quishing.
No.
Can we just unpack that word?
So quishing apparently involves embedding or attaching of QR codes into phishing emails which take victims to malicious websites. I've seen an increase by like not having seen any last year and now seeing some this year in people wearing T-shirts with QR codes on.
Yes.
There was a restaurant that had a menu with a QR code and it was on the table, but it was also on the people's shirts. And that was a weird experience of watching people basically take pictures of the waiting staff in order to get to the menu. Didn't really like that. not sure that's a new thing that needs to exist. No. But also, like, people who have random businesses and just put QR codes on their back, and then, like, yeah, I don't like it.
I already feel like this needs to go away just so we don't have to hear the word quishing.
Yes. So, a recent report by security firm Egress has highlighted the increasing role that quishing... Did they invent the word as well? Because I feel like they're using it a lot. It is playing in cyber attacks. With the popularity of QR codes rising all the time, cybercriminals have identified them as an easy route into an organization's data and infrastructure. Like most phishing attacks, it plays on the trusting nature of an employee and tricking them into using a QR code that looks like it will take them to a legitimate page. However, it instead pushes the victim towards a malicious site that can result in cybercriminals gaining direct access into a company's systems. While the increasing use of QR codes has driven the cybercriminals to this new tactic, it has also been the successful countering of malicious hyperlinks with intelligent cloud-based solutions that has meant they have to find new ways of finding holes in company defenses. As we know, cybercriminals tend to be at least one step ahead of the sector's attempts to keep them out, and QR codes offer a real opportunity for bad players to go around new effective defenses. I like to think that, like, they're going to carry stickers of these malicious QR codes and then try and, like, put them on the underside of people's shoes so they fall off inside an office, and then it's like, oh, this QR code just appeared on the floor. I definitely better, scan that.
I think it's even more malicious than that, right? Like, you just, here's some flyers for my kids' baseball team fundraiser. Here's some, and you just stick up stuff around the office, and, it doesn't take long. And then you've got this person copying and pasting from this presentation and this presentation, and they just stick it up. Like, I think the QR code has gotten a little, just stick it everywhere. And so since it's everywhere, and people are just, clicking on that stuff, and they're like, let me just click to win. How about don't enter all your personal information? You don't even know what you're going to win. You just hit the button that said, click to win. Click to win, your identity's stolen. Oh my goodness, no.
That's probably more effective. You see, my first thing of, how I would do this would be a giant one printed on, a huge bit of fabric that, across from the 1Password office, I would, hang out the window. Yours sounds more practical.
You're going to hang a giant banner off an office building.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are you telling me if I did that outside the 1Password office, it would get no one? I bet I could get at least 3. Oh, yeah. Everybody would scan that thing.
Oh, it would get a whole bunch of people.
Even if you put, do not scan this QR code, everyone would scan it.
Oh, that would make me want to scan it even more.
Exactly, yeah.
You'd get way more people.
Okay, so Egress identified that from January to August 2024, 12% of all phishing attacks contained a QR code, and this is likely to increase substantially in 2025 as a result of an expected surge in QR code usage this year. And companies have to become more aware of what threats look like and how their employees can better manage the incoming phishing attacks. Essentially, quishing works the same as a normal phishing attack. However, by utilizing a trusted source such as a QR code, cybercriminals are increasing their chances of success. Quishing as a tactic is relatively new, but as companies and solutions begin to catch up, cybercriminals are already adapting their approaches. Some are putting the malicious QR code on a colored background to try and make it harder for the software to identify the code's anchors and highlight it as malicious. Others are embedding the code within emails as attachments. Once the attachment is open, it can be opened as any other QR code, but it can trick some software in allowing it through. The most sophisticated approach involves embedding QR codes within macro-enabled Excel files. When opened, these files execute macros that assemble a malicious URL from separate cells and generate a QR code from it. My goodness.
Are you still following?
What? Who's opening file attachments? If you got an email and you don't know who it's coming from and you're who's opening that attachment? Let alone a macros-enabled Excel file that builds the QR code on your computer.
Macro-enabled thing could do anything. So, just the fact that it's only creating an embeddable QR code that then pushes you to the next stage of, What a load of nonsense. Okay, so as most solutions struggle to analyze fragmented URL components, it increases the chances of code getting through. The positive for employees is that such efforts to get past the software means that the code itself looks more suspicious and easier for everybody to identify as a cyber attack. So, I think the main takeaway here is that the key for countering phishing attacks is the same as phishing attacks. If employees can identify what a malicious email looks like, they are unlikely to click any link, open an attachment, or even use a QR code. Keeping employees up to date with what the latest threats look like and how to deal with them means that cybercriminals have to look for new routes to gain access to data and systems. The efforts of cybercriminals to find a soft underbelly of the company's security will of course continue and likely become more sophisticated and complex. This means that the job for internal IT and security teams becomes more onerous and time consuming. Yeah. This one, despite the awful word phishing, I think it's a great story. I do think like QR codes, I think are an interesting route. I certainly feel like I'm scanning a lot more of them these days.
For QR codes in general, though, it's like the email, right? Like I can open the email, I can look at the email, but I don't read any links. As long as I'm not clicking anything in the email for a phishing attack, I'm not going to log in and redeem my prize codes and all that kind of stuff. If I scan the QR code and I go to that website and I'm like, oh, this isn't real, and I leave, or, oh, maybe I shouldn't enter my stuff, then I'm fine. Just the act of scanning the QR code and going to the website or wherever it's taking you isn't going to ruin your phone or your device or hack all your stuff or implant malware on your device, right? Like, it's the action that comes after you scan the QR code.
It really depends.
Right? Or is it I scan the QR code and I'm ruined?
It really depends. It kind of depends where the URL goes to, but also there are internal URLs and launching like addresses as well. So yeah, you could scan that QR code and it could execute something on your phone to the point where it like downloads something or does an action. It doesn't have to be just a web page that would then kind of phish you. But I think the majority of security tools and such that are built into the devices generally stop that. But it's a huge new area of attack. So I'm assuming there are ways some of these folks have found around those internal protections.
I feel like this is just going to be an awareness thing, though, because I feel like we've only just got everybody up to speed on what phishing is and like don't click links in emails and all that kind of thing. But I don't know if the average person is going to know that QR codes can even be malicious.
Like, I didn't know you could do things with a QR code that wasn't a thing. I've never interacted with a QR code that isn't here's the QR code, takes you to a website, and you either like, here's your user manual for your washing machine, or here's where you go to learn more about this, or here's where you go to do this. Like, I haven't interacted with something that automatically is like, let me take you to the App Store and download that app for you. I've never had that. So yay, one more thing to worry about. And less likely to ever scan another QR code. There's me going back into my cave.
I think the majority of them on iOS, when you hover over the QR code, it will actually give you the first portion of the URL, and I think that's something where it's a great indicator of like what that thing is going to do. Yeah,
learning every day.
Okay, this next one, someone hacked the ransomware group Everest, their leak site. So this one's by TechCrunch. A leak site used by the Everest ransomware gang was recently hacked and defaced. The leak site, which the ransomware gang uses to publish stolen files to extort its victims into paying a ransom demand, was replaced with a brief text note which read, "Don't do crime, crime is bad, XOXO from Prague." It is not clear if the gang also experienced a data breach as a result of the hack. Everest is a prolific Russian-linked ransomware gang, and it has claimed credit for multiple hacks and data breaches since its inception in 2020. The US government has also attributed several hacks to Everest, including breaches at the US Space Agency, NASA, and the Brazilian government. Ransomware and extortion attacks are on the rise, but recent data shows that the number of victims' payments to hackers has dropped overall during 2024, as more businesses refuse to pay hefty ransoms. While law enforcement operations have targeted and disrupted some ransomware gangs in recent years, including the Lockbit and Radar hacking groups, several ransomware gangs have also experienced damaging leaks and sabotage from within. I don't know. What do you think? This doesn't scream from within to me. This screams, oh, this place is pretty good business. I wonder if we should shut down their business and ours gets better.
Yeah, it looks like the whole of Prague is taking credit for this one. I just wanted to include the story because we cover so much bad news here on the podcast, and it's not a whole lot of good news in cybersecurity. So, it's nice when the hackers get hacked. It's just a bit refreshing,
What I like about the hackers getting hacked here is it was just like hey, don't do crime. They got hacked and their hacking stuff was held ransom and they had to pay a ransom to get the ransom back. Like it's not a, treasure chest buried under a treasure chest under a treasure chest. Like it's a straight up, like, maybe be nice people.
Yeah. It's a simple message, but effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do crime. Crime is bad. I can't argue with that.
XOXO Gossip Girl.
That would be a brilliant name for a hacking group.
Oh, yeah. 10 out of 10. All right. Let's jump to Rue's chat with Tarah Wheeler. I think if you're a small business owner, this one's going to really speak to you. But even if you're not, there's plenty of great stuff in here around ransomware and the ongoing debate around whether to pay or not to pay the ransom demand. Tarah comes to this discussion with loads of really surprising and interesting facts and statistics around this topic. So in honour of Rue, I think we can go ahead and drop it in here.
Oh, it's like he's here with us.
It is.
I felt it.
Sitting down with me today is Tarah Wheeler. Tarah is a renowned cybersecurity executive, author, and social scientist specializing in international conflict. She is the CEO of Red Queen Dynamics, a company streamlining cybersecurity and compliance for managed service providers, and a senior fellow for global cyber policy at the Council on Foreign Relations. An advocate for diversity in tech, Tarah authored the best-selling Women in Tech. She also serves on the advisory board of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Her work has shaped conversations on cyber warfare, policy, and strengthening security practices globally, making her one heck of a guest to join our show today. Tarah, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I am interesting today, honestly, Andrew. I love that you've invited me back aboard after all the reschedulings. And folks, if you're just listening to this, I have dashed off breathless to a brand spanking new office location as we finally get started on this interview, my whole building got evacuated. So your patience is legendary, and you're going to get the really great answers out of me today, because we're just at like F it mode right now.
No filter.
Honesty's here.
I love it. All right. So I'd love to start with a little bit of a dive into your career background. What led you to found Red Queen Dynamics?
Well, I think there's a real challenge for small businesses in this country. Not only did I kind of start in the managed service provider world, I kind of grew up with my stepdad's computer repair company. He used to run a break fix and then an MSP. Still does, as a matter of fact. And I think I've always been a little bit more connected to the smaller entrepreneurs and the challenges of smaller organizations in information security, even though I've spent a lot of time at the big companies, right? The big security companies, Splunk, Symantec, stuff like that. I've always been annoyed by the fact, I'm angry at the fact that small businesses in this country don't have access to the kind of tools that Chris Krebs calls the cyber 1% actually has access to. So I think it's about time to get going on that. And at least part of it is just sort of a spiteful reaction to the fact that small businesses don't have that kind of tooling, as well as a real understanding of the challenges that I think are facing them. So I would say it was the right time and the right quantity of rage start on this one caused me to do it.
Yeah. It occurs to me that we should probably take a quick moment to define MSP for all of our listeners, just to put a very fine point on it so that they understand what an MSP is, what it provides, and sort of like who it's for.
Sure. An MSP is a managed service provider. So I call them IT guys. I used to be one of the IT guys. So it's when you run a small business, you usually don't write your own contracts. You get a lawyer to do it. You don't probably do your own HR stuff. You get somebody to do that externally. You probably don't do your own taxes. You've got an accountant. Well, inside small businesses, you also probably don't have IT. So you hire a local managed service provider, your IT services external company that does that. And this is really sort of the API into security and technology for most small businesses. There's also something called a managed security service provider, which sometimes works directly with small companies, sometimes works with MSPs. There's a lot of folk in the security community that are starting to really pay attention to that managed security service space. Yeah.
Is cybersecurity within MSP, is that like a sub-focus of a traditional MSP focus? Are you filling a niche with Red Queen Dynamics that didn't really exist before?
I think we are. I think that small businesses constitute 44% of US GDP and are 99.7% of businesses in this country. And they tend to not have internal IT, right?
Yeah.
If you're a 30-person trucking company, it's not like you've got internal IT. You might, if you're lucky, have somebody who knows how to reset passwords. And you certainly cannot afford me.
Yeah.
So the challenge really there is cybersecurity is expensive. The expertise in it is difficult to develop. And what we have really found is that managed service providers, the IT guys that are external to small businesses at every level, need that help in cybersecurity to keep their small business clients safe. So what we're really finding is that being able to productize what we do, and I work with a team of outstanding hackers, information security experts, product security experts, to really bring something that is meaningful, I think, to small businesses. And I think it's MSPs are our real gateway into securing small businesses into this in this country. I don't know how many people are paying attention to it. I look around and I'm seeing a lot of people near us, honestly. So our niche is important, but I think really underserved.
Yeah. What is it about small businesses that you think makes them particularly vulnerable to hacks and breaches and ransomware and things like that?
This is really devastating to me to watch small businesses cope with the aftermath of an attack from North Korea. Because we've got businesses in this country that are being attacked by countries, and they just don't have any resources to handle it. And so I recall a friend of mine, his accounting firm. He's not an accountant. He's a security specialist, but the firm that did his taxes was breached about 1.5 years ago. And it's just devastating. You watch 60-year-old man who runs a 30-person accounting firm. They probably have 3,000 to 5,000 high net worth individual and small business tax returns and information in this company. They got breached and they got a ransomware notice. And Andrew, do you know what he did? The head of this accounting firm did. Do you know what the first thing he did was?
No, what?
He called the police. He called the police because he thought he was supposed to report a crime. And you know what the police did?
We can't help you. There's nothing we can do.
Not a hell of a lot. Yeah. Exactly. Call the FBI tip line. And, they've got this business owner saying, but what do I do? How do I respond to this? How do I get my systems? How do I protect all these people? And the police are like, unless this person that did this is in this jurisdiction, we can't help you. The business owner, I'm not sure they understood like APTs, North Korea, Russia, Lazarus Group, stuff like that. I'm not sure they understood everything that was going on, but they understood that this was not somebody that they could go put handcuffs on, right? So I'm angry about that. And small businesses, for lack of basic hygiene, security hygiene, are just completely helpless in front of attacks like this. And I'm getting angrier every day about it, I think. We care about this because I think we've all seen up close and personal what it means to watch somebody lose their livelihood, be damaged, be hurt, lose their job, experience some kind of irreparable personal harm from attacks like this, and there is no one coming to save them.
Yeah. Are there any common mistakes that you think are unique to small businesses that make them easier targets? Like, are there things that they just don't know that they're making themselves vulnerable?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily unique to small businesses. I think that a lot of the TTPs we deal with in enterprise security just haven't migrated down to that level. I will give you a couple of great examples. So the way that we at Red Queen Dynamics help small businesses is people inside small businesses will get questions every so often that they'll answer, and they'll be simple questions that help them understand what's going on with security, and then that reports up to their managed service provider so they can get help with security. And the way we might phrase a question about account takeover and controls off of NIST 800-171 or something like that might be something as simple as, is your home and work email password different? And they may not understand that they need to have unique passwords, genuinely.
Yeah.
They might change all their passwords at the same time to one password, no joke intended here,
Yeah.
because, they know they're supposed to change their password, but they don't know they're supposed to have different passwords for different accounts. I feel like you all might have a good answer for that question.
Yep.
But they don't know that. And here's another great one for you. small businesses inveterately use personal devices to conduct business.
Yeah.
And they don't know, they either don't know any better or they can't afford it. It doesn't matter anyway. It's not like they're issuing corp devices. So no, it's not unique to them, but the economic constraints of cybersecurity to the level that we're talking about here, it's an economics problem. It's not an intelligence or a training problem. Some of them know what they should be doing and they just can't afford to.
Right, right. Do you think that there's an awareness gap with small businesses and even just the existence of MSPs as something that they could reach for, that could provide them some critical help in ways that they might not even know exist?
Actually, I don't. I think small businesses know that MSPs exist, just like they know that you can go find somebody to help you with your taxes and your contracts and things like that. Many of them can't afford a very good MSP, and it's just as common in that MSP world to get a shitty lawyer and a shitty MSP as it is to get a good one, right? It's hard to find good service providers, no matter what your topic area is. So the issue, I think, really is finding good service providers is a difficult task, no matter what you're trying to do. So I think they know they can get that help, but the good ones are expensive and hard to find. And it's often difficult to find that reliable assistance. Many small businesses understand for the first time that they need to do something about cybersecurity, not when they have a breach or something like that, but the first time that they have to go through a compliance or framework questionnaire.
Yeah.
To do something like get brought aboard it's usually TPRM that they really experience it for the first time. So they're doing a vendor assessment questionnaire so they can provide a service or they can sell something. And they look at these questions and they go, what is asset inventory control? And then they go find somebody. If I found a legal term in my business I didn't understand, I call my lawyer, right?
Right.
So maybe sometimes for the first time they understand there's a problem when they go and grab their service providers.
Yeah. Okay. I want to pivot back to ransomware for a minute. Do you think that ransomware threats have evolved over the years? And do you think that there's something that small businesses should be particularly on the lookout for or should expect to face in the next few years?
I think that ransomware threats haven't evolved, but I do find something very, very interesting. Remember, at the small business level, they're unconscious of most of these fixes and changes. Anything that's happening for them that's a fix is going to be in cloud security, and it's going to be out of their view. It's going to be in M365 or Google Workspace. They're not going to know that an improvement has occurred in their protection and ransomware because it's a mass move in global cloud provision of services.
Sure, yeah.
Or products. So, but I do find one thing interesting. 2 years ago, the average price of a ransom for small businesses was $500. They would usually have to transfer about $500 in Bitcoin to their ransomer, and they would do so if they understood what Bitcoin was and how to engage in a cryptocurrency transaction. Many of them don't.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me is that about a year ago, that total typical charge for a ransomware attack rose to $1,000. You know why?
Because people were paying it, probably.
Not just because people were paying it, because it was because of inflation.
Oh, jeez.
I know. This is a business, right? This is a very clear business. There's a market niche, there's a vulnerable customer, and there is a process for getting through this. And ransomware is a business. I mean, ransomware is one of our biggest competitors at Red Queen Dynamics. We're literally just trying to get to the customer before they do.
What's your stance on paying the ransoms?
So it's a great question. I'd actually had this argument in print before. I wrote an article a couple of years ago with Kieran Martin, who used to be the CEO of the NCSC in the UK. It was a great conversation, and he and I disagree with each other for very principled reasons, right? He thinks there's never a reason to pay ransoms. At the time, 2 years ago, I think when I wrote this article, I was strongly arguing that if a small business is going to go under and there's no one coming to save them, why shouldn't they be allowed to pay a ransom? I understand the moral and ethical qualms behind it, but I'm not sure my thinking has evolved a great deal from that point. And I think maybe the reason for it is penalties are not applied and experienced equally. And that's what happens with ransomware and small businesses. It is not fair that somebody who works in a larger business is less likely to be impacted by ransomware because they are more privileged. And is there any fairness to be found here? Not a great deal. But I am hesitant to take a weapon away from somebody who runs a small business. They spent their life doing it. And if there was no one coming to protect them, it's so difficult to justify not paying it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They've got a payroll to run. They're employing 15 people in their local economy. How do you tell them for lack of a $500 payment to some terrible person around the world that they can't do their job anymore and they're going to fire everybody.
Right.
It's devastating to watch it happen. So yeah, I'm not sure how much my thinking has evolved, and I'm pretty sure my ethics and morality have not in any way evolved over the last couple of years, but that's where I think I sit.
I remember hearing something a couple of years ago. You were talking about fairness, that a parking fine to a wealthy individual is just the cost to park there, right? And it's like, yeah, $100 parking fine. That's $100 parking spot to me. That's not a deterrent, right? And I think that there's some of that same dynamics at play when you talk about like small businesses and things like that.
Absolutely. I believe I've heard that statement before a couple of times. If a fine is the penalty for breaking the law, then that's just a progressive tax.
Right. Yeah.
Or actually, more accurately, a regressive tax, frankly. Mm-hmm.
What are the key steps that small businesses should take to prevent breaches, ransomware attacks from happening in the first place?
Basic security hygiene is incredibly important. What we've learned at this point is that there are about 6 to 12 important questions and tactics that small businesses can engage in to make sure that they're going to be as safe as possible. Basically, that they're not the slowest gazelle at the watering hole. And one of those incredibly important elements is ensuring that there are strong, unique passwords for different accounts shared appropriately. I'm not even selling your product. I don't have to. I do that because we use 1Password internally at Red Queen Dynamics. I don't even know if you know that, but we find that is one of the strongest predictors of ensuring that businesses don't experience breaches. Do not permit any employee to disable multi-factor authentication on any account. Don't permit the sharing of passwords of an account across employees. And there are a couple of other key elements as well, too. Train everybody not to plug strange USB devices into their laptops is still an incredibly important one. There are still large companies getting popped this way. So small businesses are as well. Make sure, and this is an interesting one, actually make sure that if you can do wire transfers from your company bank accounts, ensure that for over $25,000 transactions, I actually like to make it $5,000, but ensure that there is a second person that's required with multi-factor to authorize wire transfers. And the reason for that is wire fraud is the most common way that a small business is going to be targeted by attacks. So there's several of these questions that are incredibly important.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to keep yourself safe. There's no magic. It's not AI, offensive security, high-tech platforms. It's literally just multi-factor authentication, different passwords. Don't let people use your badge to get into the company.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had a few folks on the podcast that do physical penetration testing, right? Like trying to get into buildings and gain access and stuff like that. And their stance is that you can do as much on the technical side as you want, but that person at the front door is still going to let in the pizza guy to go and like deliver the pizza. And so it has to be pretty comprehensive in terms of training and things like that.
Well, it's got to be comprehensive, but also it has to be multi-layered. It's the Swiss cheese model of defense, right? Like it's just true that somebody who's good at conning people is probably going to be pretty good at conning your people. That's the real challenge, right? Like I'm married to a physical security specialist, and he can walk into any building and he looks like he belongs there. Walk out, he doesn't walk out with one computer, he walks out with 50 of them, and everybody just thinks he's the maintenance guy, right? So how do you protect against an experienced security specialist or a con artist? There's usually very little difference between the two of them other than a vague sense of morality. How do you protect against? And the answer is defense in depth. You have to make sure that each one of the layers of your security is there. It's not just comprehensive training. It's really making sure that those controls, both technical and policy based, are everywhere you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you talked earlier about you can get a bad lawyer, you can get a bad MSP. How do small businesses balance cost against effectiveness in this realm?
Well, Rue, they do it poorly. Is the answer. They do a really bad job of it, honestly, because it's very difficult to figure out whether or not someone has expertise in an area that you don't have expertise in. Right? Everybody's got a specialty at this point. I am an extremely qualified chief information security officer. And I'm the CEO of a company now too, but I have been hired before as an information security executive. Do you know how hard it is to tell if somebody's good at that job? It's impossible for somebody who is a hiring committee of a CMO and a CEO and a couple of people from the board to tell whether or not someone's good at their job. when it's an area they don't have expertise in.
Right.
The thing we're often relying on is someone else vouching for a person, right? At almost every level. So small businesses don't necessarily judge that expertise. They're just looking for basically the equivalent of Yelp stars and reviews and things like that. And that's a hard thing. They do it badly because people are susceptible to being told things that aren't true, of not knowing how to differentiate between confidence and expertise is a really common one. And technology is already an intimidating area. I have a lot of people tell me, oh gosh, I could never do what you do. And I'm like, you've testified before the Supreme Court. What are you talking about? You just have a different set of skills. So these folks inside small businesses just have different skills, not lesser, just different ones. And there needs to be some respect around that fact. I don't think there is, frankly, from our industry. There's a lot of contempt from information security towards small businesses. And I'm kind of angry about that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there ways for small businesses to, for the lack of a better term, like find those 5-star businesses, like find the right folks that they should be working for?
A good way to do it is ensure, and I'm gonna give you a couple of secret little heuristic tricks that I use. When I am evaluating whether or not an MSP that I'm talking to, they could be a potential client, or I might be referring people to them. When I'm looking for whether or not somebody does a good job at their job, one of the very first things I look at is who they're connected to on LinkedIn. I look to find out, do they put out content that tells me that they care about their customers? Are they connected to and talking to people that appear good in the industry? One way to tell that somebody isn't any good at being an MSP is to look them up and determine that they are unconnected to the larger ecosystem of MSPs. It means that they're not trying to be part of the community of people that are making this better. They're trying to operate in geographic or subject material isolation. And that's a really good way to tell that somebody is probably not great at their job if they're not being inundated with information and new TTPs, new opportunities, connected with people, participating in their community. If they're not doing that, don't hire them. Don't use them for your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good observation that I don't think many people would reach for, to like look for that community connection. I'm sort of thinking about like myself and some of like the ways that I got started in the industry and the community connections that I forged, and then the people that I found that I additionally connected to and things like that. And it really does tell a story about a person without knowing the person, to see the community that they're in. That's a really cool approach. Okay. We always ask, and I know that you've touched on this in some of our conversations today, if you could give business owners a piece of advice, like one piece of advice to immediately improve their cybersecurity posture, what would it be?
That is a great question, because I usually give 3.
You can give 3.
And if I was going to pick one, that's hard. No. Now you've asked me the question. Now I want to answer one. I think the single most important answer I would give to every small business owner about cybersecurity. I'm not going to tell you to go find an MSP. I'm not going to tell you to do a framework. I'm not going to give you numbers or letters. What I'm instead going to do is I'm going to tell you, do 5 minutes a week. Don't try to eat the elephant all at the same time. Just fix one thing every week, whether it's one person's insecure password or somebody that you're pretty sure is sharing an account with someone else. It's pretty common for things like service accounts, the QuickBooks, stuff like that. Fix one thing a week. Take a deep breath, because after you've done that for about 12 to 16 weeks, you're not going to believe this, but you're going to be in the top 25% of American small businesses. You'll be better than 75% of American businesses if you fix 10 to 15 things about your organization's information security over 12 to 16 weeks. You are already going to be in that top quartile of American small businesses for security. It's going to blow your mind. I know, but it's true. Just one thing at a time, 5 minutes a week. That's it.
That's really solid advice. That's fantastic. Yeah. You just put in the work, but like not a ton of it. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. Okay. Let's wrap it up. Where can folks go to learn more about you, Red Queen Dynamics, and the work that you're doing?
Well, come to redqueendynamics.com and give us a try. If you're an MSP, let me know what's going on with you. Enter in 1Password if you want to in the referral code. I'll know where you came from, and I will be very, very nice to you and have conversations with you. I swear. And you can always come have conversations with me on LinkedIn. I'm not on that old Bluebird site anymore. I'm on the new Blue site. So if you want to come find me there, absolutely. I'd love to have conversations with you. If you are a small business owner, if you're a managed service provider, I would absolutely love to chat with you. I'm here for you. So is our whole team. And you really matter. And I'll tell you one other thing. There's a reason why my family is on 1Password and not just my business, why I use it. And that is because there is just nothing more important than making sure that a breach in one place isn't a breach everywhere else. So it matters to me. And there's a reason I'm here doing this work with you, Rue. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that was Rue's chat with Tara, and if you enjoyed that interview, took something from it, or want to discuss anything that we've talked about on today's show, you can head on over to onepassword.community. There's a forum for Random but Memorable where you can comment on every episode, and also blog posts with transcriptions of every interview. We'll leave a link to that and everything else we've mentioned on today's show in the show notes.
I like onepassword.community now, because every time I try to go to onepassword.com, it autofills to onepassword.community and I end up there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
As you should.
I've read nearly every article on there.
Excellent.
The new blog and everything like that, because I end up there by accident and I'm like, oh, that sounds intriguing.
It's all good stuff.
We need to get you commenting in the forums, Matt.
Oh, you don't want to start me with that. I'll never get any work done.
You can't even reply to all your emails.
Exactly. We'll start having people asked to be on the show in onepassword.community. I am Greg and I like pottery. I heard you've got an opening.
I can totally see that happening now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, so does anyone know why we have this uptick in pottery traffic? Did we hit on some sort of niche group? We did. We've cracked the code.
I want to hear all those cybersecurity pottery metaphors and connections.
I've got nothing.
All right, let's go on over to our Ask One Password segment, where we get to answer all of your listener questions. While we've got Rue out this week, we're going to head over to Matt to stand in and answer your emails. And so today we've got a message from Dave, not my Dave, but another Dave, who says, "Hi team, I loved Ralph E.'s episode, including the just released B-roll, as it's called in movies. A topic idea for you. Given the current global border tensions, now might be a great time for Random but Memorable to highlight 1Password's travel mode feature, which I bet many folks don't even know about. Thanks, Dave." And I agree, Dave. I think that travel mode is a wonderful feature that doesn't get used a whole lot. So, Matt, do you want to give us a rundown of travel mode and how it works?
Yes. So, it is kind of a one-way door. So you want to do it just before you get to the border, and it essentially removes both the cache and all the data from your device. So you're still logged in, but it just kind of blows it all away. So there's nothing on there. When you unlock 1Password, it's basically empty. So if you're forced at a border to unlock 1Password, you unlock it and there's nothing there. You've basically done everything from a legal stance that you have complied with, but the actual app is empty. Then you can go, back online and sign into the website and then turn it back on. But there's nothing in the device or on the app where they can be bring all the stuff back. There's no options there to bring it back. So I think it's really great. It's part of our own internal security policy. So I use it every time I kind of cross over to either Canada or the US. But also it is slightly inconvenient, but I think it does protect you a huge amount. The slight inconvenience is anything that you have got in 1Password, you obviously lose access to. And so half the time I find in myself turn on travel mode just as I'm about to hit the Canadian border, even though Canadians very friendly. I'm sure there wouldn't be a problem, but I do it anyway because it's part of our security policy. I then get to the train, and of course I have an account for the train, and there's all sorts of stuff for that. And then I have to sit there and go on the website and be like, okay, now I'm over the border. Now how do I log in? Where's this? Where's that? But it's not too much of a pain.
Well, you can turn travel mode on for specific vaults too, though, right? So you could just go and create a vault that's your travel vault, and those ones are not included in travel mode, and then go and turn it on for other pieces, right?
That's true. I did that for my my personal account, so my personal 1Password, but I haven't done that for my work one. I don't really know why, but yeah.
And how does one turn travel mode on, Matt?
You go to onepassword.com, and then you accidentally type in 1password.community, and then you delete the Unity bit. And
then you read all the blog posts. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go to My Profile, and in the left-hand side...
Well, you have to go to sign in.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
1password.com. Then you have to hit the sign in button. Ignore the fancy race car. Go to the sign in button at the top. Click the sign in button and then log into your 1password.com account.
Yes.
Or if it's a .eu or .ca, go to, start.1password.ca, whatever it is. Get in there, log in on a web browser, not in the app.
Yeah. So then you go to the top right-hand side and drop down, and then you go to My Profile. And then there's a little switch on the left-hand side that says Travel Mode. Switch that on. It will then give you the kind of like what this switch does. And then you can go, okay, and then you are in it. You are in Travel Mode.
Woo!
Excellent.
Love it.
I don't know why I'm picturing like when you turn travel mode on, you become like Buzz Lightyear and you sprout little wings.
Nice.
That doesn't happen. It just removes all the data from your device.
Oh, I'm disappointed.
All right. Well, if you have any questions that you would like us to answer on the show, you can send them over to podcast@onepassword.com, or, as we've said before, jump on over to the community forum and leave us a comment there. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, let's close up today's show with some alternative security questions, and let's kick it off with the jingle.
It's Alternative Security Questions, the game show that answers the questions that no one asked for.
Wonderful.
Love it.
There you go. You get it in the recording today because I'm here.
Love it.
So traditional security questions are generic, easily cracked, and not particularly secure. So here we get to suggest some alternative security questions with less predictable answers. This week, Sarah and Matt will create fake answers to random questions. As the host, I will award points for my favourite answer. As an added bonus, I will also try to detect if any of their answers were real or made up. We play 3 rounds and answer 3 alternative security questions. So the first question we have this week is, if you could time travel, but only for mundane tasks, where would you go and why?
Who are you going to first?
Let's go to you, Sarah, first.
So this feels like a loaded, because like if I can time travel, like, does this mean only once? Like, because there's a lot of mundane tasks out there. Like,
I feel like it's like, what time period would you like to go back to? Any point in history?
So to keep it random but memorable, I'm going to go back to whenever somebody decided that a front lawn should be made of grass. And that it, because grass, like you constantly are in this cycle of you need to water it. And when you water it, it grows and then you have to mow it and then you have to mow it and then you have to make sure you don't mow it too low and all of this. And like, I would go back and be like, no, check out this stuff here. It's called clover. It grows like a weed. The bunnies love it and it only gets so high and it's drought resistant. And I would just have everyone have clover instead of grass for their lawns.
Interesting.
So that would be what I would do. Is that? I don't even know if that's the real question.
That's fascinating.
So you're doing that to prevent doing the mundane task, not because you want
Which
to...
I actually love mowing the lawns. So I don't know if this works. Like, I don't know. I was just thinking, like, what could you change? I don't know. This feels like a lot of pressure this week. I don't know why.
Oh...
Matt, save me.
At any point in history, Sarah, you would go back
just to the invention of the lawn. Yeah.
It's said mundane, right? Like,
I like the fact that this is time travel only. So like you would be in the same space. So you'd still be in Canada, regardless of whether the lawn was invented in Canada, but you would just be to the date where lawns were invented. So essentially you're just shouting at your neighbour. In the, like, I don't know, I'm going to guess 1800s or 1700s, something like that. You're just going to be shouting at your next door neighbour, don't use glass, use clover.
Look at it, it's beautiful.
And then time travel back again.
I think we've peaked on the random content this week.
I think so.
I aim to please. What about you, Matt?
Okay, I'm going. It doesn't say that you can only go back, so I'm going forward in order to. I'm like any task, any mundane task, any chore around the house. I'm sure if you went into the future, we've probably solved it. Okay, so I'm thinking hoovering. I already have a robotic hoover.
Or vacuuming for our American listeners.
Yeah, all right. My wife's problem with hoovering is I keep on telling her not to use the expensive robot vacuum outside because she keeps picking up leaves with it. And I'm like, that thing cost a fortune. It's going to ruin it. But
you'll need a vacuum for your vacuum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I feel like there will be a much better one available in the future. So I would go far into the future, and then I wouldn't have to do that chore anymore.
Okay. Any chore in particular, like you really just don't want to deal with?
I'm not great at chores. I think hoovering is pretty rubbish. I don't enjoy that. I mostly don't enjoy tidying up. So like putting things back where they were is not a strength of mine. I prefer to find new places close to where they are, and I feel like there probably is a solution for that in the future that just like puts all your stuff back where it used to be. So I'd go forward and get one of those.
Your robot butler can deal with it.
Exactly.
Okay, next question. What's the first lie you remember telling as a kid? Sarah, we're going to go to you again.
I don't really know. I remember climbing out on the roof with a homemade alien spaceship and sitting on the roof, and like hanging the homemade spaceship in front of the kitchen window and trying to convince my parents that there was a spaceship outside the window. But then no one noticed. So I don't know if that counts, but like that's the first like thing I remember trying to do like as a prank or a lie. I don't know. I'm not good at this one.
I think the most tragic part of that story is that nobody noticed.
No, but hours. I was out there for hours. My parents were probably like, oh, thank God she's quiet.
Matt, what about you?
I mean, my answer to this is terrible, because the first one that I remember was no, I did not smash that car window screen. Well, some children, not me included, of course, angled a trampoline from a treehouse and then were like dropping things onto the trampoline, and it just so happened that a car was very close, and then obviously the windscreen did break, and then I decided to put the trampoline back and act like I'd never seen a car before. And so, yes, that totally, it totally happened by itself.
I can see that. Okay, finally, if you could ban one everyday object, what would it be and why? Sarah, what are you banning?
I have no idea. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I have nothing. Let's go with blinkers, because nobody uses them anyway.
I'm going to go with individually wrapped plastic utensils.
That's a good one.
I thought just terrible. Like, you get an individually wrapped spork, and I'm like, that is just the production involved in doing that, let alone in now me having to recycle it. And like, it's not obviously recyclable in your normal bin. You've got to like take it to the supermarket and stuff, which no one ever does. So yeah, they can do one.
All I can think now is the individually wrapped wooden cutlery.
Oh.
I mean, already it's a tongue depressor. You can't eat anything with that. Like, it's gross. And like, then to have it wrapped on top of the, yeah.
It's like single-use waste on top of single-use waste.
Yours was a good one. I like that.
Yeah. I think, Matt, you clinch it with your answers this week. I mean, going to the future for all your household tasks, smashing a windscreen, or did you? But I think that one was true. And then the individually wrapped plastic utensils. I think, yeah, you're the winner this week. 10,000 points.
Yay!
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, before we head out, I just want to remind you that May the 1st is World Password Day. It's a great reminder to strengthen your passwords, maybe set up some passkeys, and encourage a family or friend to give a password manager a try. If you have any password-related tips, please be sure to share them on onepassword.community.
Very nice.
All right. Love you guys.
Yeah, love you lots.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you could subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also leave us a rating or review. It's one of the best ways to support Random But Memorable, and we always love reading your feedback. We're also a community-led podcast, so if you have any questions for us, topic requests, or even guests you'd like to hear from, please send us an email at podcast@onepassword.com. We read all of your comments and look forward to hearing from you. We hope you'll join us for the next episode with plenty more random moments in the wide world of cybersecurity.